guys notice in that video that our wives will leave us with their own? No, seriously. Well, when you compare it, 7 out of 10 men are in couples, but only 4 in women.
Try more.
Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for investing your time to listen to me today. I hope I do justice for the 2 hours or so that you will be here. I will try my best, but let me assure you right up front, I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not here to promote anything. This is not a marketing or selling or anything like that. This is purely information. So just relax back and enjoy the 2 hours that we are going to be together. Actually, I have few of my agents and friends here in this room that they have been requesting me for a long time to share my experiences in real estate, in different aspects of real estate for the past 10 years. And so we arranged this session today and welcome you all here today to basically see if we can find options for you that you will have a better retirement plan, and maybe you will consider real estate as one of the options for your retirement. So this is just information. You will be a little bit overwhelmed because 10 years of experience is a lot of experience. And I have been through with the group of people that some of them are in this room. We have been through a wide range of investments, and some of them we have lost, and some of them we have made. And so through different conferences and seminars that I have been inside the country, outside the country. So I think it is a long journey, and 2 hours may not be good enough, and you might feel overwhelmed a little bit sometimes. But I think if you have questions, raise your hand or just interrupt. We will have 2 kinds of questions. You can ask questions specific to the slide, and then you can ask general questions at the end. So is that good for everyone? Is that good to say that if it is specific to the topic here, you will ask it, otherwise you will leave it for the end? Because I think most of your questions will be answered. Okay. I will not come close to this. Okay. This was a poll that was taken, I think, a year or 2 ago. I was shocked when I saw this. I was not believing it, so I went after the source of this. That 1/3 of Canadians are thinking to gamble as a retirement option by buying lottery. I could not believe this. Honestly, I thought this was a joke, but I went after the resources that are, have done this survey. And I don't know if you guys are shocked, but I'm shocked to see this, that people can gamble their life by just buying lottery. But this is true, and this is a survey of Canadians. So if they're not gambling their lottery, these are the options that right now most Canadians are using. I have mutual funds. Actually, my accountant forced me to have a mutual funds and RRSP, so-called RRSP, because he said you can have some savings on your taxes. I gave you the numbers. I put 20,000 in 2007 or so. 3 years ago, it was only 16,000. Today, after the market coming back and the stock market is up and running and it is in record-breaking numbers, today my statement, I received it a couple of weeks ago from Scotiabank. It is somewhere close to 20,000. That is 5-6 years later. And I think this is not just my story. It is the story of most of the Canadians that have invested their money in RRSPs. Of course, sometimes there is a possibility of making, on average, on their booklet, when you walk into a bank, they make you sit down and they go through the three different options, whether you're high risk, low risk. I went with the option of 6 to 8%, which was medium risk. But still, I didn't get that. Still, I didn't after 5 years. Those are actual numbers from my statement. Of course, there is GICs. It is very low. There was a bank here. I think actually it was not a Canadian. It was a bank from India, ICI World or ICI, something like that. They were the highest returns, and they were offering 4.65%. They were advertising it last year. I'm not sure if it is still valid, but generally the major financial institutions in this country, they offer you, depending on your portfolio, somewhere between 2 to 3% interest. It's very low. It's not even sometimes breaking the inflation. Me and my friend Aziz here, the friend sitting at the front, we have invested in the stock market too. It is close to pennies now. But we're lucky that we did not invest too much. But we wanted to try everything, to be honest. I think when you're in the mood to try, and we gave everything a shot and see what works. And of course, there are saving accounts that government has introduced with the $5,000 that you can have with no taxes. That's a good option to save, but we are discussing about returns and your retirement plan, and that $5,000 may not be good enough. So I think for me, going to different, not only the options that I have listed here, I have been through 7 different businesses, and some of them is totally shocking, or it might shock you. For example, I was a publisher of a Chinese language magazine. I don't speak Chinese, I don't look Chinese, but I tried that option too. I have been back and forth in China a couple of times to import it. I had my own computer store. I had my own advertising agency. My clients were people like Dell Canada, IBM Canada. I was their agent for promotional material. I have been through everything, well, not everything, but a lot of the options that were available within my resources. And I have noticed that real estate is the best option. I started in real estate as a real estate agent, and 10 years later, I'm so happy that this was my choice. But within real estate, I can tell you very confidently, if you want to build your future, if you want to create your real estate investment, whether you're an agent or just a common man, real estate is the best option. And I think for a common man, for an average person, real estate, I will confidently say this, is the only way for you to retire. You can try everything else. There are so many challenges. I have been through them, so I'm here to tell you, let's not try. Figure out your way through real estate. Find out how you can align your personal goals and within your resources, because some of us have limited resources. Within your resources, figure out how you can get involved into real estate investment. If you want to have an easy retirement, a good retirement, or so-called freedom 55 or 35 for me, then real estate is the way to go. Okay? So I will share with you 3 strategies. And again, if you have any questions, raise your hand. These are a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're not a numbers person. It is even more overwhelming for you. But I think you can raise your hands and we can clarify, we can discuss together to see if we can find a better way of explaining this. So far, is there any questions? I'm assuming, yes, go ahead.
Did you say that you made your bucks in mutual fund one?
No.
No, which was apart from laterally you did, but in the growth fund?
Nothing. None of those options that I mentioned, and none of the businesses. Not only these options, but I had few businesses, a computer store, a Chinese magazine, an advertising agency, an import-export company. Those just made enough to pay my bills. And I was working, really, I had a hard life, working like long hours, having hard time. So real estate just, it
you had to do with just spreading yourself too thin?
Oh no, I did one at a time, by the way. I didn't do too many at the same time. But I gave it a try for a year and or two, and then I moved on to something else. Maybe I tried a couple of them at the same time, but I have not tried all seven at the same time. No problem. So we're going to discuss 3 real estate strategies. Now these are my experiences. I have been through all of these, and I'm going through some of them. I kind of dropped some of them because it does not align my personal goals, but I can tell you where I started and share with you with some of the options that work for me. So the first, easiest real estate 101, the basic level that works for everybody is rent and wait. So this is an option, and we will go into detail. That basically, in a nutshell, this is what it is. Your income that you receive from rent should be able to pay for all the expenses. And that includes your mortgage payments, we will go into detail, but basically your income is paying your expenses. We are not talking about cash flow. What we are talking about here is the long-term pay down of your mortgage. So this is the basic level of real estate investment. It's about just paying down your mortgage. So for example, if you have 200,000 or 300,000 mortgage, in a long run, 20, 25 years, you will have that house paid off, and you will have that house, whatever it is worth 25 years from now, is all yours free and clear of any mortgage. Now, this is an option that actually most of us in this group, if not all of us, are doing it right now. When we buy our own house, it is a long-term investment. I call it forced saving, because those of us that live in Montreal, we know there is a higher number of renters in Montreal. 54% of people in Montreal are tenants, and they rent. But at the same time, they spend a lot of money. They go to a lot of vacation, they have a lot of fun, and their lifestyle is that let's spend a lot of money now, who cares about future? I don't know, I'm not going to make a judgmental call, but that's where they are. So if we own a house, it will force us not to have that kind of a lifestyle, if you may say, or maybe have a balanced lifestyle. So I think some real estate agents try to exaggerate this and say, instead of renting, let's come and I will buy you a house, and if they're both same thing, they're not. They're just trying to get a lead, they're just advertising. This is not true. This kind of advertisement actually is misleading. Buying a house is more expensive, no doubt. You have property taxes, you have utilities, you have maintenance, and there are so many things on the list that you can never predict, and it comes up. So buying a house is always more expensive than renting, but at the same time it is forcing you to save. This is a forced saving plan. So most of us are already doing this, but we can consider this as an investment option. So I will give you an example here. So for example, if you buy a property for $300,000, your down payment and closing costs, let's consider it is $75,000. Now this is an exact number here, about $30,000. You will pay down the mortgage in 5 years if your mortgage amount, of the principal amount that you have in the mortgage is $240,000. Right now the interest rate is not 5%, it is less than 3%, but I have considered it to be 5%. So after 5 years, you have paid off $30,000 of that mortgage. It is as simple as that. Do we have any questions so far? So we can move on? Okay, this is something that we're already doing. Now, this is a mistake that some of the people that come to the real estate investment make. They think that real estate expenses or property expenses are just these. It is just paying the mortgage, it is just paying the property taxes, which we all know, and it is insurance and utilities. A smart investor will make tenants to pay for utilities. Because if the landlord pays for utilities, then you're paying for their long showers. For example, if I was a tenant, I like long showers. My showers are a couple of hours, so that would not be a good tenant for you. So that's why a smart landlord will consider for tenants to pay the utilities. The mistake that first entry-level real estate investors make is that they don't consider these other factors that play a role in your cash flow. The biggest one is maintenance. Remember, a house like a car needs maintenance. And there are so many things that can possibly go wrong with a house. And unfortunately, most investors do not consider this. A tenant usually signs a 1-year lease. They might move out and they will not leave the house in good condition. So you might need to do the cleanup. You might need to do the painting. And that's why you should have a reserve of 10% from that cash flow for that maintenance. And I will give you the example of this. But the other factor that investors do not consider, or how many agents do we have in the room? Wow, there's a lot of agents. By the way, hopefully, especially agents, because we know that we are so-called independent contractors and we do not have a retirement plan, we are not part of a union or something. Hopefully today, at the end of this, I can convince you to consider real estate as the option to retire, because it is the best option. Anyway, so some agents do not explain these things to the potential investor. And vacancy is one of them. On average, you should consider 1 month vacancy in a year. So when a tenant moves out, it takes time for the unit to be renovated, to be painted, and then you have to advertise and then get new tenants. On average, you need to put those numbers into your calculation. And of course, I mean, some of you might do your own property management, and some of you might give it to outside property managers to manage it for you. It's a cost that you should consider. Even if you're doing it yourself, it is your time. And your time has to have some kind of value. So I will actually do these calculations with numbers, but any questions here so far? Okay. So let me give you an example of say 300,000. You bought the property, 240,000 is your mortgage. If we go with 5% interest rate, 25-year amortization, your mortgage is approximately $1,400 a month. And I'm just throwing these numbers. I will give you real life examples, but this is just to explain. Your taxes might be $250, your insurance might be $100, and your maintenance, because this represents 10% of the income. That's how we calculate the maintenance. So that's how at least I calculate. 10% of the whole income that you receive should be reserved for maintenance. Even if you don't use it right away, but it should be in your reserve fund. Vacancy is 10% of that rental income, which is that's why 10% of 2,500 is 250. Management is again 250. Now you might ask the question, can you find a property that can give all those numbers? Yes, you can, and I will give you an example. But after adding all these numbers, so 2,500 is your all expenses, and this is what I mean, that at least your total income should pay all your expenses. Okay, and then in the long run, you will pay down your mortgage. There are groups that promote to live and invest on cash flow. Yes, there might be cash flow properties, but it is very, very challenging to get a cash flow property. How many of you are here from Realty? Yes, you. I used to be you were a, yes, I used to be too. So Realty is a group that they have, there is another Realty member, that they promote cash flow properties. They have members across Canada. I personally believe it is very hard to find a true cash flow property, from my experience. Actually, to rely, their proportion is that, I mean, eventually you should give up your work and you can rely on the cash flow. It will be very hard. I'm not saying it is impossible. It is very hard to find that kind of a property that you can rely Here is another thing. I have been literally to not, if not hundreds, tens of seminars about real estate. In these seminars, they discuss about exceptions, which means out of 1,000 possibilities, they enlarge and exaggerate with one possibility that might be possible. And they discuss, and the whole system is around that possibility. We are not going to talk about exceptions today. We are going to talk about real practical possibilities. So I'm not going to exaggerate things that, once upon a time, 50 years ago, somebody found a cash flow property that was giving $20,000 a year cash flow. We're not going to discuss, and I'm not here to sell you something, so I'm going to give you my real life examples. And that's why, in my opinion, it's very hard to find cash flow properties and rely on. It's possible, but it is difficult when you consider all those things. Now, here is an example, and the owner of this property is in this room. You might want to stand up. Yeah. So I sold my own colleague also a property. And that so this is a property that Zero owns, and these are real numbers. This property is in Whiskey. She bought it 3 years ago, exactly, well, less than 2 months, 3 years ago, for $200,000. At that time, it was possible to buy an investment property with 5% down. Today, it is not. Rules have changed. Minimum down payment is 20%. But she was lucky, and she bought this property with only 5% down at that time. And she had some clothing and reserve funds. So basically, her total investment was $15,000. This is a condo townhouse in a townhouse complex, and that will be at the very green room. It has a basement, but it's not separate entrance. It has a backyard, and that's very important. We will talk about it. 3 bedrooms. This property is rented right now for $1,500. It has been rented for $1,500 for the past 3 years. And these are exact numbers that she pays. She pays about $1,050 for mortgage payments. The condo piece, because this is part of a townhouse, is $164.80. Considering all those 10% for maintenance, vacancy, because if not today, tomorrow, this money will be needed. The furnace goes, the roof goes, the windows goes. Anything could happen. There could be a vacancy. Although in the past 3 years, there has been just 1 month vacancy, but still you want to consider those numbers for your studies and analysis. So there is not much of a cash flow, but after 3 years, she has paid down $13,000, which is not bad. Right? These are, again, exact numbers. If she had, like, just imagine if she had 5 townhouses like that 3 years ago, she would have had more than $100,000. Of course, we will discuss about some of the challenges with tenants and whatnot, but basically this is the concept that in the long run, this is a retirement option for you to pay down the mortgage. It is like someone else is living in the house and paying for your mortgage and all the expenses. Yes, ma'am. Oh, we are not considering this cash flow. This is a pay down of mortgage. So she got a mortgage of $200,000 3 years ago. Today it is not $300,000. It is less $30,000. Yes. Sorry, at the back. Sorry.
Where is the owner living at this time?
The owner is right here in front of you.
No. This is what she rents. Is she with in-laws? Is she on her own? Because that's an area of expense. She can only rent it if she's not living in it, right?
I'm trying to understand. Yes, it's an investment property, and you can buy as many properties as you want.
So we don't take into account her cost of living elsewhere.
Well, that's the personal cost.
I know, but that's still a reality.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. But I understand, and I think it was just. Yes, go ahead.
Each year she goes rental increase or?
Oh no, this has been this is a good rate. This is a good rate here, and so she doesn't want to bother with it. Is that right?
But when you split tenants, sometimes you don't want
Oh, this by the way, some of the banks take the property taxes into the mortgage payment. So in this case, that number reflects the property tax.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you can incorporate it. She doesn't, before you can,
Yeah.
so if that, she doesn't bring in the income tax.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I got your question. See, tax questions, the accountant will answer, and it will depend on your portfolio. But I can make a general comment. Now, the way it works, that $68 per month, and let's say it is $1,000 a year, that will be an income. So it will go on your income statement when you go to your accountant. So you will have an additional 1,000 income. But you know that accountants are creative, so they will use that 1,000 income and they will apply to the depreciation of the property. Because as the property gets older, you can also get some tax credits. So there are ways to adjust it, but at the end of, let's say if she sells it today, and she makes that 13,000, this is called capital gain. And that on capital gain, then she has to pay some taxes. Or the other option is she can invest somewhere and not pay anything. But I think those are, but I think in general about the taxes, this is my philosophy. I say make the money first. If you pay to the government, that's good. If you're paying bigger chunk of taxes, it means you're successful. Is that not true? I met a friend of mine yesterday. I was just discussing. He's paying $650,000 in personal taxes for this year.
Oh,
Wow.
what did he make?
He wanted to come today, but he flew to Dubai
Oh,
last
he
night.
grabbed him.
Yeah. He's in real
Seriously,
estate.
what did he make? He didn't pay that much tax.
He made 3.2 million as income, but I'm not supposed to disclose personal information,
That's
but it's
okay,
okay.
but we can't feel sad for him.
Yeah, so if you pay more taxes, that's fine. That's good. Actually, it's good to pay more taxes. Yes. Well, right now, actually, that's a good question, but the government has changed the policy. If you're buying an investment property, you have to put down 20%. If you put down 20%, you don't need to go to school. If you're buying a personal home, then if you're approved, you can go with 5% down payment. And then if you go with 5% down payment, of course you have to go to school. Anything less than 20. So, but with investment properties, it was possible before, now it's not possible. You have to come up with 20. This changed, I think, last year or so, financial changes, yes, to cool down the market. Question?
I have a suggestion to you. When you put ROI and then this rate, it's really very low down payment. And with such a low down payment, the return on investment is really good.
Does everyone understand what Ina is saying?
So,
Okay. She invested only 10,000 or 15,000. Okay. Milo invested only 15,000. And today she has additional 13,000. So her money almost doubled in 3 years. That is return on investment. That's 100% return, which is not possible with anything else. Thank you, Ina, for bringing that up.
I think she did the house what under what she did the house.
Oh yeah, I did consider appreciation, and we're going to talk about it. Yes. This is just, I consider cash flow appreciation, which we are going to talk about in just a moment. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's could you repeat the questions as they come, because it's difficult to hear people's questions?
Okay, let's
Thank you.
make this a little bit louder.
No, it's not you.
No, it's
Not you, the audience.
You can hear me.
You, yes, but the
Okay.
audience, no.
Okay.
which was the company that you ladies represent? I didn't know that name.
Which Real Estate Investment Network is an organization that they have membership across Canada. Actually, we have a couple of members here in this group. They train you, teach you. There is an interesting book written by Don Campbell, who is the founder of RAIN. It's called Real Estate Investment in Canada. And he published version 2.0 a couple of years ago or so, or maybe last year. So you should get a copy of that. It's a good book to read. Don Campbell.
Excuse me. But your mortgage preparation is based on $48,000.
Yeah.
But there is a $10,000 down payment. So
Yeah,
why is it-
because the CMHC fees is approximately 3.5%. So she got a mortgage of 5% down. So yes, her mortgage was 190, but you have to add CMHC fees on top of it. Because when you get any property less than 20% down, there is a huge CMHC fee, which is 7,000, 8,000. And again, I want to emphasize these are just round numbers. We're just trying to introduce the idea to you, okay? We are not going to do the cents and the exact numbers. This is just to introduce you to the different real estate investment options. Any other questions? Yes.
In your opinion, is it worth joining RAIN?
It is. It is fully worth it. For a couple of reasons. First of all, they introduce you to the fundamentals of real estate. You get to know, they're not, actually when I was there, I don't know about now, they introduce you to some basic fundamentals of investing that you should know before investing into real estate. And then they have ongoing training. And I'm not here to promote them, but it's a question you ask. Yes, it's worth it.
Is it only residential properties or commercial as well?
Their main focus is residential. Yes, their main focus is residential. Although recently I have heard that they are also bringing up people from US and Florida investment options, but their main focus is. Yeah. But if we want to be saving some money, most people go to RAIN for networking. That book that I told you, Real Estate Investment Options, that kind of summarizes the whole group. If you don't have the time or if you don't have the budget, it will cost you a couple of $100. That book says it all. So not all, but most of it.
No, paper is another option.
Yes.
Really,
Yes. Yes, you can. They have an event called Acre once a year that you can join. Yes.
Is it Canadian based?
It is. Actually, that is a very good question because most of the books that we have in this country are from US. And when you read them, you're confused. The options that they introduce you to,
They're not a good example, right?
they are not a good example. And some of them are examples that are illegal in this country. So, yeah, it's true. But you read those books, and actually this is a Canadian based, and initially I think from Calgary, somewhere out west, and now they have expanded across the country. So we can move on? Okay, so as I was trying to say, cash flow is a bonus. If you have cash flow, don't spend it. Although I'm going against what RAIN teaches here, they say you can rely on that cash flow. It's my personal opinion that you can never rely on a cash flow. Anything could go with property anytime. It is better to keep that cash flow in your account. Some major items such as roof or furnace or anything could go wrong and you want to have that reserve. Okay? So for me, cash flow is a bonus. I'm not going to rely my monthly income on cash flow. You can, it's your option. And sometimes, actually, here is another option. Most of major financial institutions like RBC and Scotia and TD and most of these major ones, they gave you the option to prepay to up to 20% per year. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? So you can pay down your mortgage. So you can use that cash flow to pay down your mortgage. You can even do that with your own personal property if you want. Okay, that's another option. So someone, I don't know who it was, said that the property, yeah, you said that, Bob, right? The property prices have gone up, and yes, in the past 10 years, on average, in Greater Toronto area, properties have gone up on average 7 to 8%. In some neighborhoods, on average actually 10%. If someone bought a property in Richmond Hill 10, 12 years ago, it is double the price today. A property of 350 is 750 today. So yes, properties are appreciated, but there is no guarantee they'll do that execution. And actually, following the market, following the economy, this is my personal opinion, it won't go much higher from now on. At least it will not have that kind of appreciation that it had in the past 10 years. We are almost at the peak. Yes, there is a debate, and economists have predicted so many things. I was believing in them, but after the crash of 2008, they have shattered my belief in any economist, including people from major banks, because everything that they have predicted is wrong. If you go back in 2008 and 2009, they never expected real estate will grow, for example, but it has. Economists have predicted in the past 7, 8 years that real estate market is going to crash. We are here and it still has not crashed. So whatever they are saying, I'm not going to believe, because it is just looking into future, and anyone can create opinion, and you should not believe what I'm saying, but at least I will express my opinion that it will not go much up. Whether it will go down or not, there is a debate. But on the other hand, it will not go that much down too, and there are so many reasons that we don't want to get into that. So we will have more or less a flat market for the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe 5% down, maybe 5% low, but it's more or less, in my opinion, a flat market. Okay, so yes?
Excuse me, are you meaning
It's
that-
good you're giving me a break. Yes. I was looking for water.
that really the value may increase, but the cost of lending will be constant? Is that what you mean? Or are you putting a control on the increase too?
The prices have gone so much up, there is not much of a room, because the prices go up with the income. Our income have not gone up as much as the price and value of houses. So that is the main factor, that there is not much of a room. Right now, the prices are increasing because of low interest rates, and how long this interest rate can last. Maybe not forever.
So that's a false sense of inflation or value, isn't it?
Well, and on the other hand, it is not false, because we have about 200,000 people coming to occupy houses. Immigration plays a major role, and people make babies and form families, and that plays another major role. So there is still potential for growth, but I'm saying it will not be same as the past 10 years. Yes.
Don't you think you have a different market in Canada, the US, or Europe?
Yeah, of course it is different, and the fundamentals are much stronger. And again, as I said, it is my personal belief, you may not take it, but I think because we are at the peak, the prices have gone so much up, and there is not the ratio of our wages increasing and the price of houses increasing is not matching. There is a huge gap between our wages, because we have to have higher income to pay for higher houses. Right now we can afford it because of low interest rates. But if interest rates go to 5 or 6%, which is the norm of the market, I don't think prices will go up.
I was reading in a report that some of the, not much, the majority of Canadians, when they're buying a property,
Yeah.
they're buying 3% below their income. And we have a different system, lending system in the banking. We have a better criteria to lend the money. Right now we have a better interest rate. And that makes it attractive to real estate. So it's easier to borrow, in my opinion. I'm not sure.
Sure, and I respect your opinion. It's possible. But I express mine. I think in the next 5 years, it could be more or less flat market. Yes,
It's still some gentrification.
I will come to that. You have to be cool. Yeah. Okay, so, but yes, there are options that actually you can force appreciation. We were discussing about market appreciation, which is at the bottom. It mainly relies on jobs. Those of you that are in real estate and real estate agents, when we go for training, you know, they say the top 3 things about real estate is location, location, location. Let me tell you something new today about the economy. The top three things for economy is jobs, jobs, and jobs. The rest of them comes the GDP growth and whatever else that economists discuss comes after 3 times jobs. So the top three are jobs, and then we can discuss. Right now, the job market is not as strong. The wages are not as strong. You will not believe it. In 70s, average wages per hour in Canada was $20. Right now, do you know how much it is? Yeah, people have to work 2 jobs to make average of $20. And most people work at Walmart and Tim Hortons to make that kind of money. 2 jobs. So we have gone a little bit backward there. Anyway, so jobs are important. Immigration plays a role, low interest rates, and that's why this is market appreciation. But you can sometimes force appreciation. And what do I mean by that? The first one is if you find a property that is discounted because it is not in good shape, and you can fix it up, and it will, because there is enough room to grow, and you have bought it at a discount, so you can force appreciation. Or sometimes people are kind of in desperate situation. You can find sellers because of family issues or divorce or whatever might be happening. They are desperate to sell, and they want to sell it to someone right away, close right away, and you might get some discounts there. But the 2 other major appreciations are transportation plays a huge role. It was a study done by Rain actually, that properties appreciate comparing to other places 10 to 20% more if it is somewhere close to major subway stations. You know that the whole Greater Toronto area, including Hamilton, they are planning to have these subway and railway lines built in the next 10 years. So if you can find properties close to those subway stations that people can walk, and they have a rule of thumb that it should be within 800 meters of a subway station, then your property will increase 10 to 20% more than anywhere else. So that is a kind of a forced appreciation that you can consider. Okay? And gentrification, it really needs to be cool. So for example, those of you that have followed real estate for a while, you know the beaches area, properties are so low or Lesbieville. Even 5 years ago, it was not that expensive. What happens when professionals move to a neighborhood, usually these are engineers, doctors, pharmacists, professionals in general are working in financial industry, and then they change the form of the whole neighborhood. So a low income neighborhood goes into transition to attract higher income and professionals, and the price of housing go higher. In beaches area, if you have followed, or Lesbieville for that matter, there are quite few neighborhoods in Greater Toronto area that have gone through gentrification. So basically, one type of people move out or shift, and another type of people occupy their space. And that is process of gentrification. So they change houses, they spend money on their houses, the price of houses go higher, and this is a form of forced appreciation. Okay, and if you buy the most recent issue of Homelife, they have the top 10 neighborhoods in Greater Toronto area that is going through gentrification. They listed, you should buy that magazine. You know Toronto Life is a monthly magazine. So get the most recent issue, they list the top 10 neighborhoods in Toronto. Okay? And actually they publish this every year. Okay, so coming to the most important issues here. What are the advantages? Investing in real estate residential property is not too risky. Everything that has happened in US, and we'll discuss about it in a bit, everything that has happened, the rental market is increasing and most of the houses are occupied because people that have lost their houses, they went to rent. So people have to live somewhere, and these rental properties are always in demand. Whether it's a good market, bad market, you're not in too much risk. The risk is very low. This is the lowest risk in real estate investment. There is always a demand, there is always a need, even in almost deep recession in US, the apartment buildings are doing very well. Most of them have a high occupancy, and the rents have increased. I'm not going to discuss in detail the charts that I had, and I didn't put it here, but the rents have increased since 2009 because there is a demand for it. So even in a bad market, rental property works. Okay? But there are some disadvantages. Oh yes, we discussed it is protected in downturns, and I think this is something that a common man can get into. It is the easiest. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of experience. This is your first step into real estate investment. Almost any one of us can do this thing. So this is for all of us. But and this is important. I personally believe that the interest rates will go higher in the next couple of years. And the reason it will go higher because our economy is highly dependent on U.S. economy. U.S. economy is picking up, things are moving around, and if their interest rates change, our interest rates will change. So I'm anticipating that within a couple of years it will change. If you're buying a house, if you're buying a property, I would get a 10-year mortgage. Right now, a 10-year mortgage is only 3.6%. Trust me, 5 years down the road, when your mortgage comes for renewal, although you got it for 2.7 or 2.8, it will not be 3.6. So if I was in your shoes, if I buy a property, I will get a 10-year mortgage. It's a little bit of pain now, but in the long run, it pays. So what are the disadvantages? The biggest disadvantage, and actually this is the main reason I got out of this business, is dealing with tenants. It is like you opening a daycare. Seriously, you're taking care of all the issues. People have family problems, they will take it out at you. There are a lot of rules and regulations, especially in Ontario. Alberta is a little bit better. If you go to US and Florida, it's even more better. It's more landlord friendly. But in Ontario, it is mostly tenant friendly. It's not easy to move out a tenant that does not pay. You have to go through a process. If they don't move out, you have to call sheriff. It's a long process, expensive. It could be very stressful if they don't pay. And there are tenants that are professional tenants that actually do this for their living. They come to places and they do this, and it's not easy to manage. If you're not someone that do not want to get into too much trouble, this is not for you. We will discuss all the options that I have experienced. You have to align your investment option with your personal alignment. If it matches your personal alignment, if you're the type of person that can take all this, then it is good. The risk is not too much, but the personal risk is too much. You can lose some hair. I lost. I'm not going to show it. So dealing with these people that, trust me, they have all kinds of trouble in their life, and they come with you, call you, and they use foul language, and you have to deal with it. So the other disadvantage is that real estate is never a quick, rich, overnight kind of a thing. You don't expect that you will be millionaires tomorrow or next month or even next year. In general, real estate is a long-term plan, but this option is even longer. You have to wait for a really long time, 20 years or 10 years, for the mortgage to pay down, and that is a disadvantage. Okay? In my opinion, at least it's a disadvantage. And if you exit earlier, so let's say if you change your mind a couple of years from now, you will lose. The reason you will lose, you will pay a high penalty. We have paid a penalty in a house as high as $28,000. So it's a big expense, because once you sign a document for 5 years, there is a huge penalty if you come out of it before 5 years. And if you come out even at the maturity of mortgage, you have to pay a real estate commission, you have to pay land transfer tax that you have paid that you will not get back. So you will not make money if you have an exit strategy. This is a very long-term plan. It's not a short-term plan. So you have to keep that in mind. And there's actually other bigger risks in this. Some people, you have heard in news that they do grow up in these houses, and well, there are options that you can check on them, but you can do so much. And when tenants move, unfortunately, they are mad and they do intentional damages to the walls, to the doors, and you name it, they create a lot of damages to the property. So these are the disadvantages. But the biggest advantage is it is very low risk. But if you're going through this, always qualify tenants. Read books. Actually, the book that I say, Real Estate Investment in Canada, offers you some of these options that you can qualify tenants before you rent them. And there are applications that you have to go, you interview them, you talk to them, make sure you qualify. We can do our best. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
People coming into this country,
Yeah.
can they bring any amount of money? There's no ceiling on what they can bring, but what is the minimum they must have, or is there a minimum?
There is no minimum.
Really?
Yes, so many rich people in this country, if you read their life, they come with only $20, $10 in their account. No problem. Okay, so to summarize what we have discussed so far, you're looking for a property that is positive cash flow or at least break even. In my opinion, it should be not too far from your home or your work because you can manage it easily. We bought properties a couple of hours from here and it's not easy to manage. It should be in quality neighborhoods because if it's a quality home in a quality neighborhood, you can attract quality people. Then your headaches will be really low. If you're buying in a junk area, I will not name any neighborhood, but then you will attract that type of people to that property. So you have to keep in mind to buy quality home in quality neighborhood, then you can attract quality people. And another thing to summarize is that if you want an upside potential, don't count on market appreciation, count on your sweat equity, which means your renovations and maybe buying in a place that is up and coming, gentrification areas, or places that subways are coming. I mean, in Toronto, for example, you know subways coming by 2015 to York region, and on Highway 7 and Jane is one of their stations, close to York University is another one, Finch and Keele is another one. So this is the expansion of subways. But in the next 10 years, the good news for all of us is that we will be up to the standards of some good countries. Our transportation system right now is not very good. To get from point A to B sometimes it takes you a couple of hours, but they are changing that. And you know it is in the news, Metrolinx is working hard to change that. So in the next 10 years, we will have a lot of investment opportunities close to those subway stations. And they're going to expand across Greater Front area, Hamilton area. Hamilton, for example, is a good option because subways will be going directly from downtown Toronto to Hamilton. Those are the options, but buy near subway lines. I mean, within 800 meters. Okay, but nothing has happened right now, so you have to wait. So if you buy in this category, you should buy a run-down property that is inside this renovation in a good area, and I prefer townhouses because you can rent it higher. If it is an apartment building, there are so many. But townhouse is an option between an apartment building and a house. So it should have a backyard. So they will feel that they own their own home. It is somewhat of sense of belonging, pride of occupying the townhouse. So if you buy a townhouse, that is, from my experience so far, the best option in this category. Yes?
In terms of appreciation, in your opinion, what is better? What has more potential for appreciation? Townhouse, semi-detached, detached?
I can tell you what's not good. It's apartment buildings. The appreciation is not that much. In general, houses, single-family, two-story houses are the highest appreciation. But townhouses are somewhere in the middle. If you buy a house it is very difficult to rent it. The rent, you have to get like $3,000-4,000 to cover all the expenses. But with townhouse, it is an option between a house and a condo or apartment living, so people prefer to move down from high story to a townhouse, especially with a backyard and if they have a kid. If they can't buy a detached house, this is something that they can rent. That has been my experience. Go ahead.
Would you ever consider buying a former grow-up?
Oh, God.
Well, I know that there's a stigma attached to it, but as a rental property, and would you have to disclose it to the renters?
So you have to disclose everything.
Yeah, okay.
The number one challenge you will have is financing. Most banks will not touch it. So you will not get a low interest rate, although you will buy the price will be lower. Sometimes you can get $100,000 discount in a grow-up house. But your, yes, the interest rates will be higher because you have to go to a B lender or even C lender. The major financial institutions will not touch it. Even if you sell it 20 years down the road, you have to disclose that this was a grow-up house one time. Although technically it is totally clean because the government will not allow you to occupy a grow-up house unless it is certified to be clean. But reality is that the stigma is attached and it will stay with that property forever unless you destroy, demolish it. Yes?
I haven't done the research, but I heard that the government can rebuild it. Someone has a grow-up house, the government will pay to rebuild it.
That's not a good advice. So you want all of us to have a grow-up in our house. Then you will have a brand new house.
That's what government does. You have to do the research.
Yes.
What happens to the property then?
Or they sell. And people buy at a lower and they don't care. They live there. People that understand that it is clean, because it is a stigma attached, which is not reality. The reality is it is livable, it is clean, it is like any other house. Every house, for example, has some degree of mold. Every house, even if it's a brand new house, if you go to a bathroom, there is somewhat of a different level of mold. So there is those kind of challenges in every house, and people buying those houses, they understand that this is a house livable. And they will buy for their family at a cheaper price, they live in it and then sell it one day or something. But it's not an investment property, so they don't care. It is. Okay, how about we discuss that in the next slide? Right timing. Okay, so what about multi-family houses? The smallest could be a duplex or a triplex or 3-4 units, or it could be 20, 30, 50 units. So these are basically more than one unit, and it could be an apartment building or it could be a duplex. These are the advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that you will never have, hopefully, zero income, because in a single family, if you buy a townhouse, if your tenant moves out, you have zero income. But when you have 2, 3, 4 options, at least 3 or 2 of them pay you, so you're not having zero income if one moves out. So that is the biggest advantage. And there is potential to increase income because these are usually rented lower than a townhouse if you buy it, and then you can maybe renovate it and rent it higher. But the disadvantages are it is harder to attract quality tenants. The reason is if you rent a townhouse, it has its own privacy, its own backyard, usually you can attract quality tenants. When it's a duplex, they are sharing something, or if it's an apartment, they are sharing something, and usually these properties are not in good shape. And I will discuss, there is an exception which I've written here, but I'm talking very general. So it is harder to attract quality tenants in a multifamily as opposed to a townhouse. It is also even harder to manage tenants because in one single family property, you're dealing with one person. In a bigger property, they gang up. We had an experience in Kitchener. There was a lady trying to find excuses not to pay rent, so they tried to create a union. 26 units. I couldn't handle them, so I sent my colleague Aziz, and he has more experience to deal with people. So it was not easy. They gang up against you, and they're all together, and they will not pay you. They were at that time in news. It was well known that there are bed bugs in every apartment. I don't know if you guys remember. It was in Frontier, it was in CBC that apartment buildings have bed bugs. So they tried to pick on that and make it a big deal and say, oh, apartments have bed bugs, so we will not pay you. So when you are dealing with more than one tenant, they can create their own community against you. So those are the disadvantages. And it is more complex transaction and you need more money. But again, there is always an exception, by the way. And I'm trying to discuss the normal life. Most people talk about exceptions. Yes, there is an exception. You can find a good tenanted, good quality apartment building. For example, these properties are usually in major urban centers. If you can find a property in beaches or in close to downtown Toronto, close to a subway, close to Yangon Bank, or places like that, yes, it will attract quality people because it's in a very transportation friendly and the neighborhood. There is always exceptions. But I want to disclose you the darker side because most people make the mistake and use the other side. And they are very naive when they get into real estate investment. They always go with the best options that they have been introduced and they ignore the major darker side of it. Right? Okay. By the way, commercial plazas fall under the same category. So instead of renting to families, now you're renting to businesses. It is basic long term. You can find, for example, a property which is 5% cap rate or 6% cap rate. So let me make it easy for you. What's the 5 or 6%? That means if a property is sold at 1 million, if it's a 5% cap rate, it means your income is 50,000. That means after paying all expenses except mortgage. So if you're buying a commercial plaza, these properties are a little bit more complex to manage because you're dealing with a different profile of tenants. These are not individuals, these are corporations. The leasing process is different, attracting them is different, dealing with them is different, but the headache is not too much. If they don't pay, you can literally lock them up within 48 hours and they deal with your lawyer. So it is much easier to deal with it. In residential, you can never lock up people. The door is always open, the heating always has to be running, even if they are not paying. Okay, that's reality of life. Those are the rules. The disadvantage is it could have longer vacancies. So let's say if you're buying a plaza and one of your tenants moves out, it could stay vacant for 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. It is difficult to find tenants. These are directly impacted by cycles of economy. So if economy shifts and goes down, you could have a higher vacancy. So the risk is much higher, and you need more money. And it is harder to get approval from the bank. Some banks even require that you have a management experience in running these big plazas. If it's a smaller plaza, they might not ask for a management. But if you buy a bigger commercial property, they will ask for management experience. Or you have to get involved a third-party management company to help you and be part of the system to introduce and future applications. Okay, before going there, so far whatever we have discussed is all in Canada, all long-term, all with the first option, which is rent and wait. Any questions? I know any of these ones interest you so far as a retirement option? Nothing? Something interesting?
Well, I'm wondering how long you're suggesting, how long do you have to hold it?
Well, as long as you want to pay down the mortgage. Okay, this is something really hot and it is everywhere. Investing in Florida. I have 5 properties in Florida right now, and I will tell you how I bought them. These are not exact numbers, but they're very close to the exact numbers, okay? We bought the property, well, properties, but on average, it costed us $35,000. These were bought from, liquidations, they liquidate properties. We bought it for $35,000 on average. There is an auction because these properties are sold through auction. There is a fees when you go through auction for $5,000. We spend about $10,000 to fix it. So basically, a bungalow, a townhouse, even a small detached house will cost you about $50,000 to buy and store it. These are not in prime locations, but these are in average locations where you can attract tenants. But there is no mortgage. There is no mortgage for Canadians. You have to pay all cash. You have to come up with that's why these properties are very cheap, because banks are very tied up. They don't want to get too much mortgages, so you have to come up with all cash. So what most Canadians do, they get a line of credit on their house, which is very cheap, 3-4%, and they use that cash, so-called cash, although they're all from the bank, but they use the cash and go buy investment properties in Florida. Now, the income for this property has been $10,000 per year, which is okay, $10,000 per year, and the expenses are half of them. So your cash flow is basically $5,000. This property is not in Canada, and that's why it has a cash flow. The cash flow is $5,000 a year. So you have invested $50,000, and your cash flow is $5,000. It is possible to get a cash flow property in US. It is not possible. Well, I should not say that. It is very challenging to get a cash flow property in France because the prices are so high. You're buying it so cheap, even though you're paying it all cash and you're not leveraging, still it is possible. Now, what are the disadvantages? It is too far unless you're kind of a guy that you want to find an excuse from your wife to go in Florida. Then this is for you. Otherwise, you have to travel back and forth so many times. Property management is challenging because you're in long distance, and you can find a local partner, but still you have to manage the manager, which means you have to go back and forth often to even monitor the manager that you have got to manage for you. The other problem is that you could be buying cheap properties in bad locations, and you don't know about it. The whole Florida is not safe, and all of Toronto is not safe. We have different neighborhoods. You can find, by the way, 35,000 units right here in Toronto. You know where? The place that apparently Rob Ford smoked. Serious, you go and check it, the properties are 40,000. Or you can buy those properties at Jane and Finch. You can buy townhouses for 100,000 at Morningside and Finch.
Oh, wow.
So it is possible to even get cheap properties here in Toronto. You don't have to go to Florida. But we really want to buy those properties in those neighborhoods. So you have to be careful when you're buying cheap properties, even in Florida or in Toronto. It is possible, if you don't know the area, if you don't know the market, it is possible to buy bad properties in bad locations. So those are the disadvantages. The other thing that, although you go to these Florida seminars, they tell you that the market is coming up, it's a quick flip, you buy it for $35,000, next year it will be $70,000. Let me assure you, very confidently, because I'm following US market, for the next 5 years, property prices will not go substantially. And here is the reason. There are 12 million properties that are in trouble right now in the US. 6 million of them have delinquency of more than 90 days. That means they are up for foreclosure. The other 6 million, the value of the property is lower than the mortgage owed on the property. Okay, so that's total of 12 million. And there's something called, it's a technical term, shadow inventory, which means these are baby boomers, seniors. They wanted to sell their property in 2008 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, but they are waiting for the market to come up. They wanted to sell the property and move to a condo, or move to a senior housing, or move to a long-term care housing. But they cannot sell their property, so that is shadow inventory. I'm not even counting the shadow inventory because there are no numbers. But it is there, it exists. There is a huge baby boomers population in the US. Their houses are paid off, but they're just waiting for the market to come up so they can put their house in the market. So that is a shadow inventory that's not considered. But just a question, out of those 12 million, how many do you think have been foreclosed so far in the past 3-4 years?
75%, 10%?
1.3 or 4 million only. So there is a long way to go. Okay? So property prices will not come back in US for the next 5 years at least. It will be after Obama. He will take that with him. So if you're buying in US, you're not buying for flipping. Don't be fooled or misled by these seminars and TV channels that they come up with. They're trying to sell you property that next year you can make a lot of money. It is a long-term game. If you're in it, you're at least in it for 10 years. If you want to make money. But I'm investing because of this 5,000. It is not possible to get a 5,000 cash flow on a 50,000 income. For at least I couldn't find it, although they teaches it, I couldn't find it for the past 10 years. Yes?
That means that 5,000 has to be shared with another management company or
No, I have taken it all out. You make 10,000 per year, the 5,000 goes to property management, taxes, maintenance, vacancy, everything.
Even the partner, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Even the partner you have to pay that 5,000 because you think you have to partner with someone.
Oh, that's a different topic. I will discuss it. I will answer that question in a minute. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
The 5,000 comes with cash flow. If you were using a line of credit from here, this is because you used all cash. But if you're using a line of credit,
some of it you will pay for your line of credit.
exactly, so it won't
It will not
be
be.
as good as it.
It will not be, but still it is good because if you borrow 50,000 on your house, it will cost you 3% or 4% of 50,000 is 2,000. Yeah, so still you have like 3,000. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, yeah, and again, yeah, sure, and I was trying to say that I'm not even a Canadian accountant. Forget the complex issue of the US accounting. I'm not going to advise, but I'm going to give general comment that there is a treaty between the two countries. So, yes, so if you make an income of 5,000, yes, you have to file both in US and Canada, but you'll get a credit. So if you pay in US, you'll get a credit in Canada. So you're not going to pay for the same income 2 times. Or that will be something that you have to discuss with the accountant, and it depends on your portfolio. But I know that you can get other ways. So again, if you're making money, don't worry about paying, and then get an advice from accountant. Some of the mistakes that investors make, they invest so much time how to avoid taxes, and they forget about making money. Let's make money, and then we are okay to pay the government. Yes.
When we decide to sell
Yes.
a US property, is there something different in terms of capital gains? Or
There is a capital gain. I think it is similar. You know, most of the GS countries, their tax systems are very competitive. So they are more or less around the same level. It's either 2% higher or 2% lower, but it is similar. Yeah, so Ali was asking about the partner. Ideally, because of these challenges, you want to find a local partner if you can. That is ideal option. That way, you will avoid the trouble of long distance. Unless, as I said, you want to find an excuse to go to Florida every month.
Since you're hiring, let's say, a management company, and you don't want to share your $25,000 company to give you $1 on your line of credit, you don't want to share with a partner, a management company can be liable to lend to 10 months?
It's possible, yes. That's a possibility, but still you have to manage the manager. You have to monitor the manager. So at least once a month you might use to travel or Skype or something. You have to be on top of it. Remember, managers, I have external manager, property management company experiences. They have so many properties on their hands. They don't care if your property is vacant or not. They will try, but they have, like your property, they have tens of other properties. Your property is not number one priority for them, but your property is number one priority for you, or your partner for that matter. So they will try their best to find it.
Do you have preference in addressing parties or residents online?
Well, the two major parts of Florida that people are going, one is Miami, and these are mostly along the waterfront, and the properties are not 35,000, they are 350,000. But of course, there is also higher rental income. But I personally invest in Tampa Bay area because I think there is more opportunity there, but more importantly, I found a partner there. So it is very convenient for me. So that partner takes care of 100% of everything related to managing the property.
Condos or houses?
It's mainly houses. But yeah, actually we bought one condo, so that's part of those 5
What area did you say?
Tampa Bay area. Okay, before moving to the next section, is everyone overwhelmed? You want to continue or we can stop here? Break, but we only have like 25 minutes in total. 5 minutes break is good? Okay, 5 minutes. Not more than 5 minutes, okay please. We want to finish on time.